you so much for coming out tonight, and thank you for all you do for peace and justice, and all you do for the whole world, for all the suffering people like we saw in that picture, and all you do in the peace movement, and for the churches of peace and justice, and for the Creator and all of creation. And just want to encourage you to keep working for peace and walking the road to peace and seeking a life of peace. Well, you guess you heard I'm a Jesuit priest, which is very dangerous. But I'm always nervous at these things. I'm reminded of the story of the young priest. I don't know if you heard he's given his first homily and he's very nervous. And he comes to the podium and he taps on the microphone and goes, "Something's wrong with this microphone." And the congregation goes, "And also with you." Hopefully that's not the situation. I have other bad jokes if you want to hear them. We'll go downhill from there. I know some of you are students. How many students here from Lafayette College? Well, thanks so much for coming. I know some of you are taking a nonviolence class and you were nonviolently encouraged to be. But we're going to keep being nonviolent in the process. As far as I can tell, you know, I'm saying this to students, and as you'll see, I'm not that bright, but as far as I've gotten, life is the journey to peace. The spiritual life is the journey toward the God of peace. So making peace with ourselves, really, really go deep into inner peace. And spend the rest of your life living in peace. And make peace with everyone you meet for the rest of your lives. Making peace with your family, your spouse, your parents, your children, your neighbors, making peace with everyone on campus, everyone in Pennsylvania, everyone you ever meet, everyone in all the churches. It's going to be really rough. Making peace with everyone in the world and all the creatures and all creation, and seeing life then as a journey, walking the road toward peace, living and breathing in peace, and heading toward a new future of peace, toward the God of peace. It's a beautiful way to see life, the spiritual life, if you will, the meaning of life. The problem is, we're not walking the road to peace. We're barreling down the highway of war, and killing, and bringing death, like as a perfectly normal method of relating to other people on the planet. As Professor was saying, tonight there are 35 wars happening. The UN says some 900 million people are starving to death today. 35,000 children under 5 die of starvation every single day. It's just an unimaginable statistic, but it's reality. And there's all kinds of violence that we're all reading in the papers and dealing with. You can name any kind of violence you want. There's thousands of racism, sexism, torture, executions. But there's thousands and thousands of nuclear weapons. And in New Mexico, where I live, near Los Alamos, the birthplace of the bomb, our government is building a whole new generation of nuclear weapons and post-nuclear warfare, building laser beams to go into outer space and blow things up, surrounding the planet with satellites full of radioactive material that's going to give us all cancer. And at Los Alamos, they're building some horrific thing called scalar waves. This is the future of war for those of you peacemen who don't know what they're doing. That could go through the whole planet. We don't really know the effect of it. But, for example, the idea would be to paralyze everybody in Iraq, all 23 million people, for about 5 days and protect the buildings. It's the future of war. Unbelievable. I haven't even mentioned global warming. It just came from this very, very painful, big conference in Wisconsin, where some scientists are thinking it's not that the planet in 100 years is not going to go up 3 degrees, but maybe 15 degrees. 8 or 9 billion people will die early deaths of poverty and in war. So, to answer the question, you know, if you're going to see life as a journey to peace, or the spiritual life is a journey to peace, you have to stand up and confront and resist and say no to the culture of war and violence and death in whatever nonviolent way you can. Working for peace, trying to end the wars. And I think we're learning from these great peacemakers like Martin Luther King that war no longer works. War is obsolete. The days of war are over. War never brings peace. War always sows the seeds for future wars down the road. Violence in response to violence always leads to further violence. It's a never-ending downward spiral. Peace works, not war. Nonviolence works, not violence. And we have to be saying this. The days of war are over. In fact, war is not the will of God. War is never justified. War is never blessed. So Martin Luther King, we saw in that quote is from the night before he was killed by our government, when he was in Memphis in 1968, 40 years ago. And he made the famous speech, which some of us remember. I've been to the mountaintop and I've looked over and seen the promised land. Just before he said that, he said this sentence, which sums up the reality of the world tonight. And for the students here, it's the future for you. These are the last words of this mighty, historic prophet like Jeremiah. He says, the choice is no longer violence or nonviolence. That's not what we're talking about. It's nonviolence or non-existence. Unless all of us become people of nonviolence, Dr. King said, and he's quoting Gandhi, we're doomed to our own self-destructive violence. And I think he's right. So how do we respond to this world of war and violence? We have to become people of nonviolence, and we have to organize nonviolently to resist and change the world. So that means going deep into the violence within us and looking at it, and disarming our hearts, and trying to plumb the almost mystical depths of nonviolence in us, and then practicing personal and interpersonal nonviolence with everybody on the planet. And then Gandhi and King say you organize, through the power of nonviolence, grassroots movements to confront wars and injustice and nuclear weapons until it changes. And Gandhi and King say nonviolence always works. It's just rarely tried. So Gandhi marches to the sea and picks up the illegal salt and gets the British Empire to leave. Or Dr. King marches into Birmingham, in effect bringing down segregation. 1985, 1 million people led by thousands of nuns marching to the streets of Manila, getting the Marcos dictatorship to collapse. And the South African movement against apartheid, and on and on and on. 2/3 of the planet in the last 30 years are engaged in grassroots movements for nonviolent change. That's the hope. And you and I have to be part of that movement. I don't know if the students have ever studied the abolitionists. Have you all ever studied them? These people are totally crazy. I love them. I've been studying them a lot. Imagine, 200 years ago, here in Pennsylvania, these people walk up and they say, this is my invitation to the abolitionists. Excuse me, United States, we are announcing the abolition of slavery. And everybody said, what are you, crazy? There's always been slavery. There's always been slavery. Always. Some people are not people. It's even in the Bible. And these people said, no. The future is a new world of equality, where every human being on the planet will be seen and recognized and known as a sister and brother of every other human being. They lifted up this vision and they gave their lives